on 1410 ESPN Radio.
We're looking at the side of Ledbetter's hand. There's me. Hey, thanks for joining us, folks. We are live on ESPN 1410. We're starting week one of our Hulk Hogan retrospective. You were going to talk about his debut match because we didn't talk much about that as Super Destroyer, but there's a fun little piece of trivia associated with that. So go ahead.
1977, when he wrestled for the Grams, his debut match was against B. Brian Blair. Not B at the time, just Brian.
Just Brian Blair.
Yeah, Iron Sheik's favorite wrestler.
Iron Sheik's
Brian
folks.
Blair.
We can't air it.
And him and Hulk, very good friends all throughout. So
I mean, he was standing front and center during the 10-bell salute, and it's funny how wrestling's like that because you'll meet people in wrestling who you never want to see again. You'll also meet the best friends you'll ever have in your entire life through wrestling. And it was such an interesting but very nice and poignant thing to have him front and center for that. Why did the Iron Sheik hate B. Brian Blair so much? I mean, you didn't have to Google it, folks.
Well, it goes back to that. Is that WrestleMania 3?
Yeah, it was WrestleMania 3.
When they had something go on in that match. The Sheik Hulk offers. I think he wasn't selling. And
it was the Howard Stern show that he cut that promo on, right?
Yeah. He just randomly went off, and I'm sure Howard Stern had no idea who B. Brian Blair was.
But Sheik he was like standing up and throwing stuff.
He was very upset.
And that had to be, 25 years?
They probably worked each other every night.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the heat was there, and it probably didn't get any better.
Probably not.
Some guys you get better as you go along with the chemistry. I bet you theirs got worse. Because Sheik, I feel like, is one of those guys when he doesn't like you, that's it. That's it. He just sees red the whole time.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that. And I think it's also very, I won't say fascinating because it's like I found in my time in wrestling, even if I bump heads with somebody like off jump, the more I work with them in the ring, the better, like the cooler we are.
Right.
Because we trust each other. Right.
The trust. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Because if there's nothing about our business that is important, it's being able to trust each other, which is ironic because it's also the most carny entertainment business that there is.
If you're making money together, you're going to bond quicker. If you're fighting for the same piece of bread on the indies, you're never going to bond with that person.
I think you're exactly right about that. I think it's funny that you make mention of that too, because I was just thinking about like Brett and Shawn, right? These two guys hate each other's guts, but when they're in the ring together, magical, wonderful chemistry. But to your point about Brett and Shawn, it's like Brett was the guy, then he leaves and goes to film Lonesome Dove, knowing that pilled up Michaels is going to fail miserably. And then they come back and have some of the greatest matches of that era. And the hatred for each other and their competitive nature, I think, is what bonded them. But then, like you said about Iron Sheik, would be Brian Blair. Like if Sheik saw Blair on the street, he'd try to stretch him out. You know what I mean?
Try it in the locker room.
Those were the good old days before the initial public offering.
Right.
So back to our man Hulk Hogan. I mean, like, it's such an interesting story.
You mentioned the docs.
Yeah.
So
this is 1979, folks. 1979.
Yeah, he's not even ever appeared in WWF.
Yep.
Yet at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's going to try to get some work. In his book, let me make sure I get this right. It was Briscoe that went and talked to him, correct?
In his book, it was Briscoe,
and other people say it was Terry Funk.
Terry Funk is the legend of.
Both stories could be true.
Yeah, both stories could be very true because Hogan was so hot at Gulf Coast Wrestling, like he was the biggest, best kept secret in wrestling at that point. And
he had just won the NWA title,
right? So like he was, In our current era now with the internet, it's like, oh, does this wrestler have internet buzz? Does this wrestler have internet buzz? They might not even be that good or relevant, but if they've got internet buzz, they're going to get a lot of opportunities. Someone who I think of, and I'm not trying to call her out, but like she's green, but her character and the stuff she does with her character now is incredible. And that's Danielle Larkin with the insanity stuff. Like in the ring, she's got a long way to go, but she's got buzz based upon her looks and how good her character is. Go ahead, you elaborate on that.
Yeah, it goes back. Obviously, they're seeing this guy slip away,
right?
And it's Briscoe.
Right.
It has to be, because he was the original one that recruited him. And it's no different than a coach who sees the kid in the neighborhood that he could play basketball,
right? But
he doesn't want to do it because whatever reason, he had a bad experience with a coach, whatever. And you're like, come on, man, just give us another chance and they plug him in Memphis. And I always say, if you can survive in Memphis, you can make it anywhere.
It's like Broadway, baby.
But here's the other thing. They offered him 4 times the amount of money what was the promoter's name? Tittle?
Yes.
From Gulf Coast?
From Gulf Coast, it's Tittle.
They offered him and Ed Leslie $800 a week to come there.
And that was big money back then,
I've
folks. Heard. That's
almost what these
$3,200 a month.
That's almost what the guys at the Performance Center make.
Yeah,
on like $1,000 guarantee a week.
And mathematically speaking, if it's $800 a week, you're making what, 40? Well, yeah, about $45,000 a year in 1979.
Food was cheap.
Yep.
Gas was cheap. Everything was cheap. He probably got free gym membership. From his friends. They're working the circuit, and he's in Memphis, and that's where you're meeting Jerry Lawler, Jerry Jarrett.
Let's talk about that for just 1 second on Lawler, because Lawler is not to me, and this is going to sound contradictory to people out there in general in wrestling. I don't think Jerry Lawler is a good wrestler, but he's probably the greatest worker of all time.
Great showman.
He could have a match as a babyface or a heel with literally a lamppost, and it would be over.
I teamed with Lawler.
I know you did.
I'm not being name drop Jones.
Name drop Jones over here.
I teamed with Lawler.
The ghost of Brandon Toll, the referee.
He did nothing different in that match that he did against Austin Idol in 1981.
What, punch,
drop kick,
pile driver,
threw a fist drop off the top,
Yep.
pulled the strap down, hit the pile driver.
And two, with Lawler, to again jump ahead, hulking up started with Jerry Lawler.
Yep.
With taking the strap down.
But there was no Hulk Hogan yet.
Right. But the influence.
That's coming now in Memphis, right? So he appears on a local talk show.
Yep.
Was it?
Local talk show.
With Lou Ferrigno.
And folks, if you don't know who Lou Ferrigno is, a great documentary to watch is something called Pumping Iron.
Yes,
and
I've watched that.
It is the saga of Arnold Schwarzenegger's last trip to the Olympia, and they're competing in South Africa. And Ferrigno is a giant standing next to Schwarzenegger. So Schwarzenegger is about 5'10", 5'11" at that point. He's probably about 280 because he's huge. Ferrigno was 6'3".
The live action Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, he had the live action Incredible Hulk series. And Ferrigno's a great story because he was born very handicapped, speech impediment. He's deaf, but he did the Hercules movies too, where they dubbed, it was a famous actor. I can't remember. Don't hold me accountable to that one, but they voiced dub over with that one. But I mean, he
was marble mouthed, but he had blood flowing.
Yeah.
He was still a showman.
Yeah. And to think about how big Ferrigno was, 6'3", 300 pounds. And then Hogan stands next to him and makes him look like a child.
And that's when they said, you need to be the incredible
Hulk
Hogan.
Yep. And
it's on.
That is strapping that name to him and getting him in with Vince. Let's talk for a second. Vince Senior.
79.
Vince Senior.
Yeah, 79.
Let's talk a little bit about just the plan for Hulk Hogan, because New York WWF has always been really what we call in our business a babyface territory. And that is that you try to create a good guy, a superhero, a big star,
get a buzz around him with that fan base.
Right. And then you try to chop him down, which is how they did it with Hogan. But before that, You had great with Vince Sr. You had wonderful, and I know that sounds silly, but just wonderful ethnic champions. Bruno Sammartino, great wrestler, was the Italian champion. Pedro Morales, great wrestler.
Get the Latin,
the Puerto Rican Latin
base, yes.
right fan base. Bob Backlund was kind of just, I don't know if they ever settled on Bob Backlund as an ethnicity, but he was like the white meat.
And that might be why it didn't work.
Right. They were trying to like pull that crowd out. And really the only time they had a popular heel champion in that era was Superstar Billy Graham. And that's because he like Hogan, Superstar was just undeniable because everybody else had, that guy has blue trunks and white boots. That guy has red trunks and black boots. Superstar would go out there with
every show he looked different,
long hair.
Yeah.
And his whole thing before, of course, before LGBTQ pride, his whole thing was rainbows. And he cut promos. I got a rainbows. Yep.
Yeah.
And he was so out there, but
he got shafted in his run.
He did. And we could do a Superstar.
You could
Billy
do a
Graham,
whole episode on Superstar Billy Graham.
But, and then, karate guy, terrible. But,
yeah.
But, there was definitely a lot of influence there. But when Vince Sr. saw Hogan, this is my Irish champion. I'll ask you this. Do you think there was any credence at all to them trying to get him to dye his hair red?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Remember it's hard for us to think about this, but this was when they were still building Hulk Hogan. He had just got his name.
Yep.
He's literally months removed from being Sterling Golden or Terry Boulder.
Yep.
The Incredible Hulk thing had just started and he was a heel. He wore a white singlet.
Yep.
He had a purple cape. That's not Hulk Hogan that I remember.
No. And he had Freddie Blassie.
Yes.
As his manager.
He debuts in Madison Square Garden he debuted in the WWF, wrestled a match, then wrestled in Madison Square Garden.
And folks, that's really significant.
Do you know who he faced in that match?
Ted DiBiase.
Circle gets the square. Tell him what they win, Adam. He gets a lifetime supply of Dinty Moore beef stew.
Dinty Moore beef stew. I'm down. A little high in sodium, but I'm good here for it.
Yeah.
But, Ted was, he was fantastic, wasn't he? As a worker, he was just never a body.
And Ted
guy.
was on his way out.
Yeah.
He was coming through the territory as a young white meat babyface. And Vince Sr. asked him, can you make this guy look like $1 million? I think we got something here.
Yep.
And Ted said yes. When they got to the back, and I'm pulling the curtain back because everybody else does it, he thanked Ted DiBiase for making him look good and said, I owe you one.
And he repaid him at WrestleMania.
Later.
WrestleMania 4, right?
Yes.
Nope, that makes total sense because Ted DiBiase, we all remember him as the $1 Million Man, one of the best heels ever. But at the time, he was bouncing back and forth between babyface and heel in the territory system because he had that, for lack of a reference here, people, Terry Taylor is the Red Rooster, but he had that Terry Taylor, Red Rooster, Shawn Michaels.
DiBiase's not a little guy.
No, he's not.
And if you go back and watch that match, it's excellent. You can tell Ted is definitely leading that horse.
Yes.
Do you know what the main event was on that MSG show?
I want to say it was it San Martino versus Thez?
Larry Zbyszko. So
Zbyszko.
That was the big blow off.
Yeah, it was a cage, right?
Cage match.
Cage, yeah.
And then Zbyszko was leaving the territory and he was going to the AWA.
AWA, yep.
Yeah.
And we're smiling and reminiscing about this stuff.
It's just I always think about, we were talking off air about the Bash of the Beach show when Hogan debuted and beat Flair, and I asked you what the undercard was, the semi-main event, and it was Steamboat Austin.
Yep. Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he was just
stunning Steve, the Dragon Slayer, is on his tights. So think about, there was that crossover where Steamboat and Austin were top guys, and Hulk and Flair were top guys. But then Steamboat got hurt, Austin left, and then that all ended.
It's funny because we talk about this stuff, and it's like every time wrestling, part of the magic of wrestling is the backstage stuff.
Yes.
And how and I know this is a Charles Dickens type saying, but like how all these random events conspire.
Yeah. How many moves have we talked about tonight so far besides the
Like,
Andre body slam? I don't think we've talked
3 or
about
4.
one move. Yeah, everything's
And-
been events and highlights and
But
moments.
it's true. Like Hogan tried to leave and have legitimate jobs multiple times, and he got pulled back in. And he tried to escape and got pulled. And I'll say poor Hulk Hogan, and people at home will be like, "Poor Hulk Hogan." No, this dude
Or
went
they'll
through.
say he didn't deserve it.
He went through the ringer before he got to red and yellow, and we're not even to red and yellow yet. Like we're just floating. And
He's wearing a white,
build.
like I said, a white singlet with a purple robe.
And this is a time too where and this sounds weird, but it's true. He used to shave his chest and body hair into like a suit of armor.
Yeah, that was when he switched to he had the baby blue.
Yep.
With the red boots.
Yep.
And he looked like he had a chest plate on.
Yep. He tried to make it look like a suit of armor, his body hair.
It goes back to what we were saying.
Yep.
This Hulk Hogan thing is still being built.
Mm-hmm.
This didn't happen overnight.
And do you think the business now suffers from that, like not having the time to experiment in different territories?
You see it with some guys though. They're built through the system.
Yeah,
and they find their way.
Mm-hmm.
A prime example of that would be Kofi Kingston.
Yeah,
that's the name that just popped into my head. He was Jamaican.
Yep,
supposedly.
Then
he's wearing warm-ups and jumpsuits and blah blah
Mhm.
blah, and then next thing you know, when he finds that New Day, man, that was his niche, and now they're not going to steer from that.
Right.
Guys have to get polished and refined in this business, just like sports.
Yep.
It's no different than a guy sitting on a bench. A prime example of that, I think about a guy like Jermaine O'Neal, and these are names that just are popping into my head. He sat on the bench with the Blazers, couldn't get minutes, gets traded to Indiana. Next thing you know, he's an all-star.
It's true. And the same thing happened with James Harden. He was the sixth man for the Thunder forever. And then he's
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is a great example.
Another guy. They just need time to marinate and time to develop.
Yeah. I had to get that modern reference in for Adam over there because he's still a little wet behind the ears.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting too because that DiBiase stuff, all that stuff slingshot him right into the main event, and they went right into Shea Stadium, and they sold out Shea Stadium where the Mets play, and the ring was on home plate, and that was his first real one-on-one in the ring.
Oh yeah,
with Andre,
babyface Andre. Let's paint the picture here. Heel Hogan with Blassie versus babyface Andre. People can't really think about that because all you see is the iconic bad guy Andre, good guy Hulk.
Yep.
There was a whole Andre before that.
Right.
And people say, oh, he was terrible. Well, you saw 1990 Andre.
You saw Andre when he needed crutches, right?
Yeah, Andre used to come off the
kick.
top rope and do leapfrogs and lucha rolls and the whole deal,
Being trained by Edouard Carpentier, like that made him agile. That was the foundation of his wrestling fundamentals. But he had that match where he body slammed Andre for the first time, was not WrestleMania 3,
right?
And then things turned sour for him again. He has a match with Backlund for the belt, loses, puts him over, and then he's out again after
crazy matchup if you think about it historically.
It was a good match.
Imagine if they put Hulk over as a heel.
But we'll get into that next.
Just think about how that would have changed the course of history.
We got to pay some bills. When we come back, we're going to talk about the feature film that shot him not from wrestling stardom, but to being a household name. And that name is Thunder Lips. We'll see you in a little bit.
Got 30 minutes? We got the lunch you crave at Frickers.
Kev, right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen.
Are we better than ever?
Back and better than ever. Back. Who's
Easy? That was Eric
Easy,
Bischoff.
that's right.
Yeah.
But before we get back into the conversation, I need to course correct here because first, before we get into Thunderlips, we got to talk about Hogan in Japan. But before we even get into that, I got some big news for each and every one of you. If you pick up your cell phone right now and you text AEW to 937-518-1410. Again, that's 937-518-1410. You could get a chance to win a pair of AEW tickets to see them in Cincinnati next week. Now, on Tuesday, I'm going to be talking to my good friend Jon Moxley, former AEW world champion, for this show. We're going to have an interview. We're going to talk about the past. We're going to talk about his match with Hangman Adam Page. We're going to talk about what's next for Jon Moxley. But right now, if you want to win those tickets, if you want a chance to win those tickets, it's 937-518-1410, and watch us live every Thursday on our YouTube page. We're going to be live on camera this week going forward, and then you can go back and watch shows that you missed. So a lot of you have been asking, when are you guys going to get the podcast? When are you guys going to get the podcast? Welcome to the podcast. You can watch our show beginning to end every week, this week, going forwards, every time we air. We really only take off Christmas and Thanksgiving. So we'll see you guys next week. Remember, text AEW to 937-518-1410. All right.
2 shows next week, too.
2 shows.
Wednesday and Thursday,
for
AEW.
For AEW,
yeah.
But to get back to Hogan, this is what I had to course correct to talk about this, because I hate, like we talked about earlier, the reputation that Hogan has that he can't wrestle. Nothing could be further from the truth. He is a phenomenal worker. He's a great wrestler, and he really didn't need to do it because he was such a good worker. I mean, imagine being 6'8", 325, 24-inch biceps, and convincing everybody that you're fighting from underneath.
Right. So Hulk's probably not even 30 years old at this point.
Right.
He's in his late 20s. He's in his probably physical prime, not broke down, not all the leg drops yet.
Yep.
Because his finisher at that point was a clothesline. A lot of people don't know that. Remember, in Japan,
was it the battle tornado? It was something like that.
It was like, he called it like the hook clothesline or something, battle hook clothesline or something. But he's in Japan and he's wrestling with instantly Antonio Inoki, Professor Tanaka, Saito. Who else? I can't even think of all the guys that were probably there.
Did he work with Baba? He might have. He might not have. I want to say yes. He was still making.
I feel like he did, because Andre and Babo did a lot of business together in that time.
You're right, and like again, and he was still coming back to America, and at the time, it was the very brand new Intercontinental Championship, and Vince Sr. had put it on Pedro Morales to get it over. And, Hogan would come back, do a job for Pedro to get the belt over. Right. But he's really working hard in Japan. And teaming up with Antonio Inoki in Japan, I know a lot of people, I know we're talking about 50 years ago and we're talking about foreign wrestling, but to compare it to today, that would be like playing in a 2-man basketball tournament and your partner is peak Michael Jordan.
Right.
Antonio Inoki was we'll say Asian or Asiatic celebrity, because the influence Inoki had was so powerful. He was able to bring professional wrestling to North Korea.
He was an elected official at one point.
Yes.
So that'll tell you how big of a deal he was. Not even The Rock has been able to, reach that.
A politician.
I feel like that's coming next, but
probably
2 years in a row, Inoki picked Hulk to be his tag team partner in the biggest tag team tournament in Japan, and they won it both years. So you're talking about a dream team.
Yes. Like the Hulk Hogan of Japan and Hulk Hogan before he was Hulk Hogan.
And for those of you who are out there saying Hulk couldn't wrestle, do you think Inoki would have picked a jabroni to be his tag team partner?
Absolutely not.
No. Because it would have been an embarrassment, and they take pride in their wrestling.
Honor and respect is huge in Japanese culture, period. But in athletics in Japan, let's not, this isn't, a bad thing necessarily. It's not a very sports driven culture like ours.
No.
Like baseball is huge, sumo is huge, but professional wrestling post World War II, that is just about the national sport. I would
Yes.
say like that.
They
is-
take it very serious.
Yes.
And it's not a work to them.
Right.
It is as close to a shoot as you can get.
Yep. And there was plenty of, companies out there that would hybridize that. Like you remember Pride or was
Right.
it Pride? Like
Pride.
they would do like
Those work shoot matches.
fights, and they would have Don Fry and
Right.
who's he's never made it big in America, but he was a giant
I think
over there.
Bob Sapp did a few matches
Yeah.
for them.
Yep, that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Giant. I mean, he was just huge.
Yeah.
But he never was like anything to us Americans.
No, you can't. That's a whole different style.
Right.
Sports entertainment style and Japan style is two totally different things. It doesn't always translate. Hulk was able to translate to that style.
Yes.
That's a testament to his star power and ability.
And like when you watch the footage of Hogan in Japan, like
Against Muda, for example.
right? Like describe that.
It's surreal to me because I didn't see it live. So going back and watching it, you have this perception of what a Hulk match is going to be.
Yes.
Make himself vulnerable, get beat down, Hulk up, big boot, leg drop, 1, 2, 3. It's a great formula.
It is.
It drew a lot of money.
A lot of money.
But when you watch his Japanese stuff, it is surreal because he's out there grappling and he's working. And it's holds and counter holds and takedowns and drop toe holds and waist lock takeovers. It's totally different.
I agree. And we'll get into Hulk's style in America later on. But one of my favorite quotes about Hulk Hogan is from Lance Storm. And Lance Storm said, I'd let Hulk Hogan wrestle my kids.
Right.
Because he knew Hulk was so safe, so respectful, took care of his opponents, made it look good, but did not take liberties. You watch Hogan in Japan, and he is bringing the heat.
You have to.
Talk about that Japanese.
I've
culture.
never wrestled in Japan.
Right.
So I probably should have at some point, but nevertheless, I've talked to people that have been over there. I've had conversations, name drop Jones. I've had conversations with Bobby Fulton, who wrestled a lot in Japan. And he said they worked, but it was just more real. Like everything was there. And if you didn't give it back to them, they took it as an insult.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want any of the powder puff, cutesy bootsy stuff. They want to feel your moves and they want to know you're there.
And one of the, even in Japan, like one of the, I don't want to say traditions, but one of the spots they do regularly is that standing slap spot. I'm going to slap you hard. You're going to slap me. I've seen guys get knocked out.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's not really a safe.
That's not a safe thing
for professional
to do.
Wrestling.
But boy, do they bring the heat there, and to watch Hogan work with those guys there.
They call that the fighting spirit spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's did you think that influenced hulking up a lot with fighting spirit?
I'd say a combination of Lawler, which these are two totally opposite things, but we pull from, that's how wrestling works. A combination of Jerry Lawler, a combination of probably Dusty Rhodes, who was a big influence on Hulk early on, and Japanese wrestling. The fighting spirit, but then you take the sports entertainment spin and the shaking, which the origin of that, the hulking up. Do you know where that really
it wasn't
Lawler? It was not Lawler. This is a guy you'll probably never think about. Well, you'll think about it, but he's kind of a jabroni.
But it was no, just give it to me.
Greg Gagne. So right. So when Hogan was in AWA, he was still green to the American style. They would stick him in 6-mans with Gagne and Brunzell, and they'd go around and do all the 6-mans against like Ray Stevens, Nick Bockwinkel, whatever. Jerry Blackwell, whatever. Gagne looked at Hulk and said, when we give you the hot tag, you should come in and you should, when you clean house, let them hit you. And then you raise up, grab your fist, shake the sweat, and hulk up. And that's when he started doing it.
There it is, folks.
Because see, remember, Hulk wasn't really a baby face before this.
Greg Gagne is like Mr. Rogers, by the way, for those of you playing at home. Like, this guy is not
Very bitter, Greg Gagne. When we get into the AWA run,
I'm sure we'll get into
he's so bitter.
Remember the whoop, there it is entrance for these?
Yeah. So Gagne suggested the Hulk up.
Yep.
And then it was born.
We'll get into that. We get into the AWA stuff because we're really going to get into that mostly next week. And I can't believe we're almost out of time now. We got to go pay some bills. When we come back, we will talk about Thunder Lips when we come back, because that really was the birth of Hulk Hogan. I got a
Stallone story.
Got a Stallone story. Yeah. All right, we're going to go pay some bills. We're going to be right back.
Hi, this is Michael.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, folks. We made the hot tag. We're in the go home stretch. Couple housekeeping items first, though. Again, remember, if you want AEW tickets to see them in Cincinnati next week, you want to text AEW to 937-518-1410. Again, text AEW to 937-518-1410. That's for tickets to see 2 tickets to see AEW in Cincinnati, and make sure you stay tuned next Tuesday, because I'll be talking to my good friend John Moxley. We'll be talking about way back in the day, 20 years ago, when we first started working together. We'll get to catch up. We'll talk about his future at AEW. I'm excited for that because I haven't talked to John in forever and a day. We also have to make mention of our good friends of the show over at Armbar Pro Wrestling. Their next big show is in Springfield, Ohio, August 23rd at 102 High Street in Springfield, Ohio. Now, that's going to be a great card. While some matches haven't been finalized yet, I can tell you you're going to see Dustin Reyes. You're going to see Damian Chambers. But the one match that I can tell you is probably going to be the main event or semi-main event is going to be the Luchadora Dayami. What a great wrestler, versus another territory legend like the one to my left, Big Mama from NWF. NWA NWA Women's Champion, NWA Women's Tag Team Champion. She is a territory legend. I'm actually thinking about going to the show just to watch that match myself. And if you've never seen Dayami in person, incredible. Legitimate luchadora from Mexico City, Mexico. Make sure you check that show out. Again, it's $15 for adults, $10 for children, August 23rd in Springfield, Ohio at 102 West High Street. Doors open at 6:30, bell times at 7. All right, now that we got all the house cleaning out of the way, I'm excited for that show. Let's talk about Thunder Lips. But first,
Wow,
you have a story about Stallone.
So Hulk is now he's working for Vince Sr.
Yes.
And he gets told, hey, we want you to be in the Rocky movie as Thunder Lips. Well,
yep. And Thunder Lips, folks, just to recap, in the Rocky 3 movie, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Real quick. So there was a charity event, a boxer, Rocky Balboa, versus a pro wrestler, which was a character named Thunder Lips, who was a ladies' man played by Hulk Hogan. And he had this really cool white top hat and a great cape, and he would come to the ring surrounded by women. And it was a really cool.
What did he call it? The ultimate athlete versus the ultimate meatball?
Yeah, he was the ultimate male.
Or ultimate male.
Ultimate male.
Versus the ultimate meatball.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stallone, recently I saw an interview with him, and he was talking about how great Hulk was in the ring with him.
Yeah.
Because everybody thought he would just pummel him.
Yeah.
He said Hulk's punches were so perfect that all he would feel was the tip of his knuckle just tapping him.
I believe it.
He was hitting him so perfect. And I just think that's amazing because, celebrities probably, unless they interact with wrestlers, they probably don't have an appreciation for what wrestlers can do. They probably think, oh, that's a fake sport. When really what they do is even more fake because they get retakes, reshoots, blah, blah, blah.
We get one take.
Stallone, if you listen to his interviews, Hulk was the consummate professional.
I believe it.
And he sells that and puts that over. I just wanted to make sure people know,
I believe it, because all this Hulk Hogan hate is it exists in this vacuum of hatred based upon one incident.
Yes, he made a mistake, and people let him have it because
for 10 years ago. But we'll get into that later.
I don't really even want to talk about that.
I don't even want to talk about it
because
either.
To me it's irrelevant because that's Hulk Hogan the person, and we're talking about Hulk Hogan the performer.
You got it,
and that matters more to us anyway.
I agree 100%. But back in the day, in the territory days, to pull back the curtain, if you were a contracted wrestler, the mafia calls it this, so I call it this too. If you had a promoter like Vince Sr., Vern Gagne, or whoever, if they farmed you out talent-wise, you were required, and the first contract I signed with HWA, I was required to give Les Thatcher, if I got assigned a contract with WCW at the time was still in business, or WWE, I was required to give him 50% of that whole contract off the top.
That's crazy. See, that's residuals of the territory days.
Right. And Vince Sr. thought he deserved a taste of what Hogan got paid for Rocky, which from what I understand, really it wasn't even that much.
Not really.
Comparatively speaking, he had Hogan made, again, we're tooting Hogan's horn, but Hogan is the most memorable part of Rocky 3, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Clubber Lang is a great villain. Mr. T was wonderful in the role. You know, them triggering Mickey's death in the movie or writing that in, that was a big moment. But if you talk to like the average fan about Rocky 3, or just who's a Rocky movie fan, it's Thunder Lips that's the most memorable part of the whole film.
Especially for us as wrestling fans.
Right. But even outside of that, that's what shot Hogan to superstardom. But Hogan refused to give Vince Sr. any piece of that money.
And let's put this in perspective. Hulk Hogan is not really Hulk Hogan yet.
Right.
In wrestling.
Right. He's
still a heel.
Mm-hmm.
He's Hulk Hogan, but he doesn't even have the signature American made. There is no Hulkamania yet.
Yep.
Right. So it's just so the listeners can wrap their head around this. It's not like they took John Cena in his prime and dropped him in one of the Creed movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that. You're taking a guy who's still relatively green.
Yep.
5 years in the business, maybe.
Yeah. Even though he'd been to Japan, he still was very green.
Very green. A heel.
Mm-hmm.
Not a baby face.
And when I say he's Sterling Golden, what I mean is he's not Hulk Hogan as we know.
Yeah, he was wrestling
Hulk
Hogan,
Hogan,
Sterling Golden and Hulk Hogan, depending on where he was at.
Mm-hmm.
And they made a star out of him.
And it shot him like
Vince,
through the roof.
What did Vince Sr. tell him?
What do you mean about firing him?
Yeah, he said if you don't give me a cut, you're gone. And he said, okay, I guess I'm gone.
Yeah, and he takes off and he leaves and he heads over to Minnesota and he starts AWA with Vern Gagne. And people don't really think much of AWA as a big territory, but man, that time frame was AWA is white hot.
Booming. Yeah, it was booming.
Yeah.
And again, Hulk was new territory, new style of matches, more of a pro wrestling style, holds, counter holds. So he can work a little bit of his Japan style, but now they want him to be a babyface.
Well, him becoming a babyface was so interesting because, like you said, he started as a heel. They want him to become a babyface. He doesn't want to be a babyface, I think, because he was paired with Johnny Valiant.
Right.
And I think he was so used to, in America, having that. In wrestling, when you're green, it helps to start in a tag team or have a manager because you're wrapping yourself in a nice warm blanket of, if I screw this, it's like you and Derek, a battle on the border.
Yes.
If Derek screws up, I
can cover some of
it.
I can't cover it all, but
you can cover 90% of it.
Yes.
And so if Derek screws up and loses the crowd, you'll get him right back into it.
Hopefully, yes.
Most times you do.
And that's why they would put Hulk with
a manager.
And they put him with the high flyers when he was a babyface.
Mm-hmm. But when he had Johnny Valiant, the crowd was turning him babyface because they'd seen Rocky 3. And this is the first time really ever that a pro wrestler could be like, you people out there now, and I'm not saying that to be mean, but like, you guys don't understand how big movies used to be.
Right.
Movie stars, we were talking about this earlier.
Pre-streaming movies were it.
You were a god. Like Bruce Willis, Brad Pitt,
Tom Cruise,
Harrison Ford,
Clint Eastwood,
Julia Roberts, Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
These people were looked at as American gods because movies were such a big deal. And if you saw somebody in a mainstream movie, it didn't matter if they were the hot dog vendor. They were a movie star to you.
They're a movie star
because they were in a movie. And Hogan having such a memorable part in that couldn't go from being Thunder Lips to being Sterling Golden Hulk Hogan, air quotes, because
now he's a star.
Now he's a movie star.
And he was already a budding star, but now it's imperative. He has to be a star.
Right. He's got to be the guy. And
the crowds told that story in Minnesota.
And that's one of those things where, like, the crowd 100% of the time, the crowd always gets it right because they're the crowd. But there's things out there where we're watching it with Cena in real time. You know,
well, we watched it with Cena in 04 when the crowd turned him babyface.
right? And they've turned him babyface again because they have zero appetite for John Cena as a heel.
Right.
None.
They booed him already
Mhm.
and cheered him 50-50.
Yep.
So they're not going to agree to go one way this time, right?
Have you ever seen in wrestling history, and I started to think back, where a heel came out and cut a promo and said, well, turning heel was dumb.
My bad.
Right.
That's essentially what he said in his promo. Now he did. We're getting off the track here, but we have to bring this up because
it ties back to Hogan.
It does. In his promo, he said two very important things, though.
Yeah.
He said, I was abandoned.
Yeah.
Now, what is he talking about? He's talking about The Rock and Travis Scott.
Right.
They abandoned him on television. But that's, I think, a shoot because Rock didn't want it. Old Dwayne didn't want to show up.
No, he did not.
And you can't have a storyline where Rock slits his throat and then he never shows back up.
Right.
What's the reason?
The visual of Cena and Rock standing next to each other was so powerful and compelling.
Right.
People were reacting to that because that was their arch rivals.
Yes.
In a good way. They were both baby faces.
And this
when they had
is
their
why
rivalry.
when Hogan turned heel, it was the biggest heel turn in wrestling.
We'll definitely get into that.
Yes.
But in this instance, Hogan is the heel in AWA, but he's a movie star.
Right.
And he looks like a Greek god. And people are cheering for him no matter how hard he works heel, no matter how much he cheats, no matter how much Johnny Valiant is an intercessor on his behalf.
Yeah,
they still love him.
Yeah, the flamboyant side of Hulk is starting to come out. He's got a little taste of Hollywood.
Yep.
He realizes that he can ham it up a little bit.
He starts getting those bigger face.
Yes.
Like the facial expression where he bug his eyes out.
How many heel matches you think Vern put him in before he realized? Because Vern was pretty smart.
Vern was pretty smart. I'd say a dozen.
Maybe. Yeah, we'd have to look that up.
You'd have to look and see what house show he did versus what TV.
I'm sure it was a couple loops, and it was like, yeah, this is not working.
But the babyface turn was so well executed because you had Renegades versus Blackwell.
Okay.
Renegades rolls him up. 1, 2, 3. Jerry Blackwell gets up.
Heel Blackwell.
Yeah.
Skandar Akbar's army.
Yes.
At that time. Okay.
And he's crushing Renegades.
Yeah.
And they're sending babyface after babyface out, and Blackwell's crushing all of them.
So Jerry Blackwell, for those that don't know, he was probably, was he 500 pounds then? He was a big guy.
Yeah. I'd say 450, 500.
Kind of like Bastion Booger-ish size-wise, Norman the Lunatic.
If you get a picture in your head of Jerry Blackwell, he's like a shorter, heavier one-man gang.
Right. A little bit more, that's a good, he wore the all black. Okay. Yep. Just to put it in perspective to the listeners.
He was like,
because Jerry Blackwell is kind of a deep cut name.
Yes.
He never wrestled for WCW, never wrestled for WWF.
Very big territory heel, though.
Yes.
Very big.
Absolutely. And territory babyface later.
Yeah, you're right about that. He's a guy I don't think is in the Hall of Fame, and he definitely should be.
Yeah.
Like it's just when WWE owns everything, they create the narrative.
Right.
So like all these names that you and I know from our studies that we think are great, that like the casual fan doesn't know.
Like Greg Gagne.
Vern's in the Hall of Fame.
Vern is in the Hall. So Hulk makes the save.
Hulk is the last guy that comes out there. And I went back and YouTube this as I'm researching it. It's like Moses parting the Red Sea.
Big pop. How big was the pop?
I mean, people are jumping up and down.
How big was the house? 12K, 15K?
It was one of those shows where it was all black. Like, so you couldn't really tell what the crowd was. We talked about that earlier. Yeah, it's hard to tell. The ring, you could see there's people there. I would say it was a couple thousand for sure, but
so like a TV taping.
Right. And Hogan makes the save there. And I miss reactions like that. Where you don't get them anymore. You watch live wrestling and people will figure skate, they'll golf clap.
Yeah, it's like watching dinner theater.
Yeah. Or if there's a big spot, then they'll jump up and then they'll go bed and sit back down. When Hogan makes the save, the roof comes off the place. And that in and of itself in my opinion, and probably yours too, that's the birth of Hulkamania, because that is when he starts to line up those ideals. He doesn't, it's not to the 4 Demandments yet, but it's like, I'm American.
Is Hulk one of the first guys they gave entrance music to?
Yeah, Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, I know other guys. I know other guys kind of had it here and there sporadically, but he had to be one of the first like consistent guys.
Yeah, Eye of the Tiger from Rocky, and
talk about changing the business. Entrance music.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Do a whole show just on entrance music.
You could. We've done it before about our favorites, but
not without me here. Though.
Not without you, though.
Yeah, it'll be a whole different. You know, with my
do a whole different flavor.
A whole lot going on up in this noggin.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we got to transform and roll out. This has been great, and I don't know how you feel. I'm not a big feelings person, but like talking about this stuff with you, and it knows what you're saying, and kind of is on the same page as me with wrestling. It energizes me, and it makes me sad that Hogan's gone, but I'm really glad that we're doing this, because I think that like just even talking about stuff from 50 years ago makes you want to run.
When I get down on the business, we have moments like this where we can have conversation. It makes me proud that I'm involved in professional wrestling. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, it's such a true statement. And remember, check out, we got to transform and roll out. We'll be back with part 2 next week. How many parts are we going to have? I don't know, because if we get into Hogan, we could be doing this 3, 4, 5 weeks. Doesn't matter. I think it's worth it. However, remember, text AEW to 937-518-1410. You can win yourself 2 tickets to the Cincinnati AEW show next week. Remember, on the 12th, I'll be interviewing my good friend John Moxley. We'll catch up on the past, maybe tell a couple stories about way back in the day, 20 years ago. But we're going to mostly talk about what he's doing now in AEW and what's next for him. And then also, don't forget to go to Armbar Pro on Facebook. Get your tickets for that show. One of the headline matches, again, is going to be Big Mama versus the Luchadora Dayami. I'm getting tickets for that one. You'll see me at that show. So I hope each and every one of you have a great rest of your week. Watch some Hulk Hogan matches. And when you watch those matches, go back to this show, drop in the comment section, what's your favorite Hulk Hogan match? I want to hear it. I know what mine is. We're definitely going to talk about it. You guys have a great rest of your night. Big Kev will be back next week.
Take care. Brush your hair.
Peace.
Cards subject to and Kimera.